Hi everyone, thanks for joining for another Floof and Feathers comic drawing video. This is from most recent comic from this past Friday, Top Floof. If you had a chance to read that, you might have seen the comic already. If you have not seen that yet, you can read that on my comics home website, floofandfeatherscomic.com. There's a link to that in the description below, or you might have seen it on one of my various social media channels where I also post the comic. Links to all of that is below. You can check that out and read it in full for yourself. And also, if you're not familiar with Floof and Feathers at all, if you're just joining us, then welcome and thank you for taking the time to check out this video of my comic series coming to life. Um, I'll introduce myself for anyone who might be new to the channel and to the series. This is Floof and Feathers, which is a weekly webcomic series that is I wouldn't say based exactly, but not directly based off of, but heavily inspired by the everyday antics of our pets, our two dogs, Finnegan and Pippin, and our cockatoo, Olivia, and just all of the silly, goofy, crazy things they get up to. It's great source material for an online comic. So what you're seeing coming to life here is the most recent one in the series. As I said, Top Floof is what I called it. You can probably already tell just from some of the outline sketches, very clearly just lightly parodying uh, Top Gun. Just from the name and images alone, I'm sure you can probably figure that out on your own. Um, for anyone who might be new watching, this is the dog I'm drawing here. This is our youngest dog, Pippin, drawing him with his little aviator sunglasses and a bomber jacket. Going to be drawing him, and you'll see, just got to put in some whisker details. Uh, so this is him, you'll see in the next panel, with his tail whipping around very quickly and allowing him to fly like a little helicopter. Again, just kind of, not really based in real events, but certainly inspired by some of his antics and some jokes that we've made about him. Uh, if you've ever seen videos of Pippin on social media, you know that he can move his tail very quickly. It never really stops moving, and when he gets really excited, it just whips around and around and around. And it really is like a little helicopter blade, which is where this idea came from. Go ahead and draw the lining of this jacket there. There we go. Just quickly, apologies also for the audio in this week's video. I know my voice is probably sounding a little bit rough. We were out of town at a wedding party over the weekend, and a lot of loud music, a lot of yelling going on. Just kind of lost my voice a little bit in all the excitement. So trying to trying to record the audio for this week's drawing video as well as I can. It's going to be a little rough. I apologize for that, but I mean, you're not really here for that anyway. You just want to watch the comic drawing. I get it. So hope everyone will bear with me as this week's cartoon comes to life. And then finally, just here in the last panel, we'll show kind of the real life punchline of it with him just sniffing in the yard and his tail very excitedly whipping around. And I'll say too, while we were out of town this weekend, they were away at boarding at dog daycare, where they have cameras. We were able to watch them when they're in the play yards. And every time that we checked in with the camera with Pippin, yeah, his tail was doing this, or it was just whoosh, 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 just whipping around back and forth as fast as he could make it go. So again, just life imitating art and art imitating life. It's a prime example of that. Go ahead and erase some of the background lines. We don't need those just yet. We'll get rid of those later. Make it a little bit easier to color. Now it looks like that's the outline finished. So now we can go ahead and get into actually coloring in the comic. It's these first panels. Doesn't need a whole lot. Just simple, a simple background color is really all we need. Put in the coloring and the texturing of his jacket there. And I tried to shade it a little bit with a little bit of a textured pen instead. Just wasn't really happy with the way that looked. So I actually just ended up getting rid of that and going back to my regular shading pen. But doesn't hurt to try some new things every now and then. And add in the shadow around the collar. A little bit of weather texturing there looks good. But yeah, Finnegan and Pippin were both very happy to see us when we got home. It was they're always really excited. I mean they get thrilled if we're even away for an hour at the grocery store. We come home and they act like they haven't seen us in a week. So being out for a few days over the weekend, they were just thrilled. It's always nice to come home too. Here we go. Add in the little fuzzy liner on his jacket there. Give that some texturing. Looks good. Give him a little thumbs up there. He's all set. I always like drawing these kinds of comics too, where it's kind of shown from the perspective of one of their imaginations. It just gives you a little bit more room for like just real hyperbole and even more creativity in the kind of story you're telling, instead of grounding it more closely entirely in reality. So whenever I have one of these comics, especially where it's kind of their imagination really fully taking over the story, it's always especially fun to draw these. Put in the fuzzy liner on the jacket again. Oh, oh, and I gotta say, Pippin looks really good in a pair of sunglasses. Wish we could get him to wear some for real, but I don't think we would find any that fit him, and I don't imagine that he would be too excited about that. So I guess I'll just have to keep drawing some comics about it and just live vicariously through that medium instead. Add some shading to his fur, some shadow on the ears and under the chin there. Perfect. And it's just fun too, just drawing them doing all these kinds of silly, crazy things like using his tail to fly like a little helicopter. It's just fun to draw. That's really what I enjoy about this series, especially is it's just so much fun to draw them doing all these goofy things and just being able to share their antics with the internet. It's great fun, and they're always great for source material. And then here we have him actually airborne, and that filled in a little bit more than I meant for it to. I think there's part of the line between his jacket and the top of his head. Yeah, there's just barely a gap there. There we go. So fill that in, make that separate from the blue sky behind. And that happens occasionally. You think that you've closed off all of your lines, and then you go to drop a color into the background, and you realize there's that one open pixel between two parts of your drawing, and it fills in way more than you intended it to, and then you have to go back and search around through it and try to find, okay, where's the gap? Where's the gap in the line? Sometimes it's easier to find than others. Sometimes it can be actually very frustrating trying to find it. But in this instance, thankfully, it was a fairly easy correction to make. Sometimes it's actually almost impossible to actually find it, and you have to. The only thing you can do is when you're coloring in that next layer is just go in and just start coloring it all just by hand, like you're using a crayon instead of just dropping the color in. It, it's never preferable when that's the solution because it does take a lot of extra time. But sometimes just trying to hunt for that one little gap in the pixel, it can be really difficult. Um, so thankfully, this is a case where I didn't have to do that. I was able to find it, but it's unfortunately not always the case. There we go. And just do the final little shading on his white fur there. Go. And then hop to the last panel and do the kind of grounded in reality again, sort of little punchline for it. And remove those little background. I meant to take those out earlier before I merged all the outline layers and then just kind of forgot. Whoops. But not a big problem, thankfully. Very, very easy to correct. Also, I did want to mention as well, I always like to make sure I remind people, Floof and Feathers is also on Patreon if you want to help support the series that way. There's lots of exclusive monthly rewards and bonus content that you get in addition to uh, comic sketch previews that come out about a week beforehand, reader polls, exclusive artwork for the month in the form of wallpapers and stickers, lots of great rewards that way you can check out. We're also on various social media channels if you want to follow along on those. Read the full series on the website. Links for all of that is below in the description. Also, I just want to mention as well, there was a recent art project that I was working on this past week. If anyone is familiar with the Fallout video game series, I'm sure a lot of people are. It's one of my personal favorites. I actually did a series of some small poster prints uh, inspired by some of the various companies and factions in the Fallout games. These prints are all designed to look kind of like uh, dingy, rusted out like road signs and such. So very much fitting the aesthetic of those games. And I have a series of I think it's 7 of those prints that I've made. Those are up on my art store. There's a link to that in the description as well below. So if you want to check those out, if that's something you're interested in, just highly recommend it. Might enjoy that. And also, I don't have it up as of recording and posting for this video, but I am also going to be making a series of larger stickers from those prints. I'm going to take those and make those into some sticker formats as well, and hopefully should have those added on the store coming up. I would say, if everything goes well, by the end of this week, you should see those up there as well. So keep an eye out for that as well if that's something you're interested in. And then here we go, just adding the little uh, wagging details for Pippin's tail, just whipping around there like a little helicopter blade. And just give it a few more lines. There we go. But anyway, with that being said, there we can see wrapping it up. And we have the final top floof comic there. Again, you can read this and all my other comics on my home website, floofandfeatherscomic.com. Easy enough to find. You can check out the comic series, the online art store that I have, and follow along on social media. But anyway, that being said, hope everyone enjoyed watching this week's latest comic coming to life. Thanks for sticking around, for watching, for reading, uh, for being a part of the channel, and I will see everyone back next week for another comic drawing video.